With many film franchises, once you get past that original trilogy and you start moving into those fourth and fifth installments, you do see a drastic drop in quality because they either had the story already concluded and they're trying to add an extra conclusion, or they're just trying to reboot the story entirely. But with John Wick, it just continues to build on that momentum every time after each one, and with John Wick 4, it was an absolutely supercharged blast. As you can see behind me, I am quite a big fan of Keanu Reeves, and I do think he is the best thing to come out of Canada since Poutine, and I think with the John Wick films, he's just so fantastic in the role and he puts so much time and effort into it, and it's commendable. To put this film simply, it's like a full course meal. You get your starter, you get your main, and you get your dessert, and hopefully you have a sweet tooth because the dessert is absolutely fantastic. You are though left with a bit of a bitter aftertaste, but I'll get into that a bit later in the spoiler talk. The ensemble of characters we have in this film is probably the best we've seen out of any of the John Wick movies. Like for example, we have Donnie Yen here as a character called Kane, who's a blind man, and Donnie Yen likes playing blind man, it seems, as he played one in Rogue One as well. And with him on screen with John Wick, they are an absolutely formidable duo. The tradition of having dogs in John Wick films is continued here with a character called Mr. Nobody, who like Kane is another great addition to the John Wick world. With John Wick being a man of very few words, Ian McShane's Winston does a lot of the talking, and he's once again an excellent presence here. Unfortunately though, for fans of Lawrence Fishburne and Lance Reddick, rest in peace to him, they do have smaller roles. Bill Skarsgård plays the film's villain, and I thought it was okay, but nothing amazing. Like, he sometimes falls into that crappy Bond villain territory, but he does the job he needs to do, but he's not a standout force of the film whatsoever. When you go into a John Wick film, you know you're going to witness energetic action, but what these films have done is continue to be creative with their fight scenes. So some will shock you and some will make you laugh because they're so ludicrous in nature. So it is a little bit like opening packets of collectible cards. You know you're going to get a load of ones you've already had before, but you will definitely be guaranteed some shinies. In relation to that subject, there was a scene in the film which looked like it got pulled straight from a video game, like a Hades sort of Death's Door style game with the overhead look and the floor plan style, and it was amazing. And it was part of that whole Paris sequence, which was by far the best one in the film. There was a scene involving stairs, which I've actually physically walked up myself, and I thought, oh, that's pretty knackering, but watching these people fight on the stairs was something else. So yeah, definitely some memorable moments in the Paris sequence. The Arc de Triomphe bit as well, that was so well done too. That's not to say the scenes earlier on in the film are bad or anything, because they're not, because we do get some awesome sequences involving nunchucks. There's also a great sequence where we have a card game being played and a character says a joke, and I guarantee you'll have that joke in your head when it's being said, but that Paris sequence really is different gravy.
Is it Dragon's Breath?
The Dragon's Breath ammunition, that's also really fun. The first time he does that, yeah.
The stunt work on show here was truly unbelievable. Like, it was a joy to watch this, what you can call assassin ballerina on the screen, and the film was nearly a 3-hour long film, and it does feel that, like, you do feel the runtime, you do get a bit exhausted here and there, but you're happy to watch it because you're never bored. It's just such a fun time.
That was totally wicked!
So yeah, John Wick Chapter 4 gets a big recommendation from me, but I do want to talk about some spoilers, so if you don't want to see the spoilers, thank you for watching, but otherwise, that is your spoiler warning. So the main spoiler from this film is of course John Wick dying at the end of the movie, which I have to admit I didn't see coming. Until we mentioned about what he wants written on his gravestone, that gave me a bit of an inkling, but I didn't really think we're going to see it in this film. Like, I thought it might have been foreshadowing for John Wick 5, for example, because this film didn't really feel like it was actually building into that moment, whereas, like, for example, No Time to Die, it had that sort of scene where, like, okay, I understand what's going to happen here, there's going to be this big moment, whether you like it or not, whereas with this one, we see the flashback of his wife, and it all just happens, and you're thinking, okay, that can't be it, surely he's going to appear in the end credit scene or appear at the graveyard, for example, but nothing like that happens, and that was it, and it did feel a little bit anticlimactic in that way, because I just didn't feel like that was earned from what we saw in this movie. But knowing this now and looking back on the film, like I said in the non-spoiler bit, it is like that full course. We get the starter, main and dessert, and it really is like his last supper and his last big hurrah, globe-trotting around the world, doing his usual action and kick-ass shit. So overall, I'm left quite conflicted because I think his personal journey could have had a better conclusion than this, whereas at the same time, he gets this big mammoth of a film as his swan song, and I can't really argue against that. Another spoiler point to talk about is the role of Lance Reddick in this film, which is quite a small one because he dies very early into it, and I think it was extra poignant because of him obviously dying only a couple of days before the release, and the film really does address how important of a character he is, and I think that's echoed as well with how important of an actor he is as well. He was such a great actor and he'd be sorely missed. And so the next thing to talk about is the future of the John Wick franchise. We know already there's going to be a spin-off called Ballerina coming out with Ana de Armas as the main character, and Keanu Reeves will be in that film as John Wick once again because it takes place between chapter 3 and chapter 4. What comes out after that we don't know for sure, but we think there will be a spin-off involving Kane, as that end credit scene does seem to tease that, and I think there might be a film or maybe a series with Mr. Nobody as well. While I was watching chapter 4, I thought to myself, are we one day going to see like an old man Wick film in the same style as Logan? And you'd say now, no, because he's dead. But I think with a franchise like this, there's always that potential they could bring him back. Because yeah, there's these spin-off films which will take place in the past, but how long can Keanu play those sort of roles? Because, you know, unless they de-age him and do the action scenes as well, which if they did that, that's pretty impressive, I've got to say that. But I think there will be a demand for more Keanu as John Wick, and you know, money talks at the end of the day.
You know, when you love something, you always have a little bit more. Yeah.
But anyway, on John Wick Chapter 4, I thought it was a spectacular time. There are some flaws in there, no doubt about that, but the pros so outweigh the cons that, you know, you're just enjoying the action unfold in front of your eyes, and it really is a treat for the viewer. And I think it's definitely worth seeing on that big screen with all the sound around you as well. So yeah, a big recommendation from me. Let me know your thoughts though in the comments below. And of course, if you do want to see another review, on screen right now is a review which YouTube are recommending for you.